Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Trees, grasses, flowers, and weeds. That sounds like gardening. And today we're answering questions about all of them. It's the Q&A show just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Today we're going to spend the whole time showing you the answers to questions we have received over the last year or so. We just did not have time to air them. Up first are a few questions about ornamental grasses. I planted pampas grass this past spring. Should I cut them back? If so, when should I cut? This is Darcy from North Carolina on YouTube. So Doc, you have pampas grass at home, don't you?
Well, no, I don't have pampas grass,
Yeah, you don't
but
have
I
pampas
got a
grass,
whole
okay.
bunch of other ornamental grasses, the miscanthus and some of the others.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I like to leave them through the winter because these landscape designers tell us that, you know, they move gracefully, the plumes move gracefully during the winter, and they add winter interest to the garden. So, but you do want to cut all that dead stuff back before spring growth emerges in the, in the early spring. So I would say February, late February.
Especially in this area.
Yeah, get out there with your, your big old metal blade on your weed eater or something. That's what my husband uses. He loves cutting down ornamental grass. But
a chainsaw.
Well, it gets all stuck in the saw. I've tried that. It just growl up in your chain. So I get him out there with that metal blade. Just a regular old string trimmer won't do it.
Right, yeah.
You got to get heavy duty, or you can just use the big old loppers.
Right. That's what I use at home because I do that.
Well, you're much of a man. That gets me out. That makes me tired.
Yeah, but February is definitely a good time to do that before the new growth. And something else too. I learned this from somebody a couple of years ago. If you get one of those cords or bungee cords, and you can actually tie them up. And then it makes for an easy cut.
Oh, very good.
How about that one?
Well, I said I grew miscanthus, the maiden grasses. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, but they get floppy.
Right.
You know how some grasses get floppy when they get more mature? They flop all over everything else. Well, I saw in a garden somewhere up in Tennessee, middle Tennessee, at a beautiful garden, and they had pulled all of that stuff up and made like haystacks and tied it to get it all up. I mean, it's really attractive. You got this pretty grass haystack. So, and then you got it ready to cut it down.
You got it ready to cut.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, it was very pretty because they do tend to flop. The maiden grasses do when they get, fairly good size. So they just gather them all up.
Put a belt around them.
Well, put a belt around it, right?
Yeah, I use, something that's not, like, I don't use a bungee cord.
Right.
I use something that's aesthetically pleasing.
Okay, right.
Like garden twine. Or,
Hay string.
Yeah. Something that's pretty,
Something like that is pretty.
You can tie it with a big bow,
Right, add some seasonal interest to it,
yeah,
right?
Christmas bow.
Right,
Yeah.
Christmas bow, something like that.
Yep.
So there you go, Darcy. Yeah, sometime in February she get that done, and a little Christmas bow, something to hold it up,
Yep.
right? Are there any prairie-type grasses that grow in the Mid-South? My backyard is too large, and mowing it has become too tedious. Thanks. This is Moni Sue from Memphis. So backyard's too large. She wants a prairie-type grass. Can we grow prairie-type grasses here?
Yes, we can grow prairie. In fact, there's a publication about prairie grasses, and so I'm sure that'll be available if you look it up online. But the problem is with prairie grasses, they're big. I mean, prairie grasses are not short like morse grass. I mean, we're talking 1 to 3 and 2 to 4 feet are just some of the shorter ones. And I don't know if she wants that tall of grass around in her backyard or not. Maybe she has a swath of area she would want those in. But prairie grasses are tall. They're not short growing grasses like we would think in our yard.
Right.
So
I like the fescues and things like that.
No, it's nothing like that. A little blue stem is one.
Which grows well around here. I mean,
broom sedge, blue stem, side oats, grama, and pink muley grass.
Yeah.
All of those are, but they're, anywhere from 1 to 4 feet tall.
Right.
It's nothing short.
And most of those grasses are what, clump?
Yeah, they're all clump forming. So you'd have to have quite a few of them.
A lot of them.
And there's others, but they're taller. I don't know if she wants that much. I mean, how tall you want to go? Because 6 to 8 feet could be some of the others.
Right. And she probably didn't want them that tall because she's already talking about mowing is too tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd have to cut all of them at least once a year. But anyway, yeah, prairie grasses are nice, but they're tall.
Okay.
If she wants to deal with taller grasses, then anywhere from 1 to 4 feet to me is tall for a yard of grass. But maybe a section she'd want to do with that. I don't know. I don't know what her light in.
Yeah, I was wondering too. Yeah,
is it sunny or is it shady?
Direct sunlight.
Yeah.
That's something.
Because the grasses will need some sun.
Sure. Yeah. Full sun.
Yeah.
For that matter, and we'll have the link to that publication on our website for sure. But the question is, can you grow any prairie type grasses? You can.
You can.
You just have to make the decision of
how tall.
How tall? How do I get rid of Vinca minor that is growing into my monkey grass along my driveway? Please don't tell me I have to just pull it up by hand. Just kidding, she says. There really is way too much Vinca to try to pull it up by hand. And this is Nancy from Walnut, Mississippi. So Celeste, please don't tell Miss Nancy she has to pull it up by hand. Please don't tell her.
Okay. Well,
I won't tell her. I'll let you tell.
Okay. Unfortunately, Miss Nancy, I'm so sorry.
Oh, Miss Nancy.
The products that we use to control broadleaf weeds in monkey grass, also do not kill Vinca minor. So, a lot of people use Vinca minor and Vinca major as ground covers, similar to how I'm sure she's trying to use her liriape. And the particular product that we would use for broadleaf weed control, you can use it in all of those ground covers to control some basic things like, poison ivy. I don't know, what are some other... purple dead nettle, just any kind of broadleaf, something that's coming up in those areas. The active ingredient of that product is called bentazone.
Okay.
So, hopefully what we're providing her today might be able to help her with some other weed control in those ground cover areas. But as far as keeping the Vinca from getting into the monkey grass, the only real solution that I could recommend would be to create a clear, defined boundary, right? Whether you're bringing in maybe like an edger or something like that, and really delineating those two areas from one another, getting the Vinca that is in the monkey grass cleaned out, and then hopefully from that point you've got that delineated boundary where you can manage the Vinca and keep it away from the monkey grass. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah,
so it might take some hand pulling on the front end, but make control in the long run easier.
So some hand pulling on the front end. Close your ears, Miss Nancy.
I know.
Okay. You're right. So liriape, lily, turf, hard to control broadleaf weeds in liriape, but easy to control grasses in liriape. It's funny, huh? All right,
so we've got plenty of products for you to
for grasses,
control grasses,
but not broadleaf weeds. Can you tell me what this weed is and how to kill it? I've used Roundup and it killed it, but it has come back. It has some mean seeds on it. They will stick you in your foot if you don't have your shoes on, and they hurt. This is Gracie in Somerville, Tennessee. So what kind of weed we think that is?
I don't even stick make it a bird weed or something.
Yeah, lawn birdweed.
Birdweed, okay, then I know it is a stick thing on there.
So yeah. Right, and here's the thing: it's actually a winter weed.
Winter weed, okay.
Yeah, it's a winter weed. You know, So of course, when it starts to get hot, it will go away. It will drop seeds.
She was in what grass? In the Bermuda grass?
And it's in her, Bermuda. Well, she didn't. Well,
She didn't say what grass.
She didn't say.
She didn't say. Okay, then, yeah.
Right. She didn't say exactly, but yeah, if it's in Bermuda or Zoysia, you can use, of course, a chemical.
Yeah, but a lot of times when it goes, if it's a winter way, the Bermuda grass should be going dormant when it come out of there, and then she might be able to go out there and put it out there. You
can pull it out.
Get your thing, try to get it out of there. Since the burrweed on there, it probably might have a lot of seeds on there. She might want to make sure she try to don't shake it when you get out of moving around and stuff in there.
It's gonna have a lot of seeds.
A lot of seeds on there. You might do that. And like I said, you might want to use a chemical. Like I said, she tried Roundup and stuff that didn't work on that. But I tried to get it out of there if it's move to launch. But she's in there.
Yeah, I would go with the pre-emerge first, though.
Pre-emerge.
Go with the pre-emerge first in the fall, because this is a winter weed that we're talking about. Go with that. If it's still there, still persists, then of course, she's tried to spray it with Roundup, spot spray it. Okay, that's fine. You're gonna have to continue to do that. But again, we want you to grow a thick stand of grass. Make sure you have the right grass species for the area, and that should crowd out the birdweed because it has spine-tipped burrs in the leaf axils.
I done seen
right. So I actually have it in my yard.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So it can stick you out in the yard barefooted. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
She said she's spraying it around though. She might be spraying it when it's real cold and Roundup might not be affected on there. Maybe need to read the label on there and see what temperature range on when you start spraying it in the grass. You might be spraying it just not working.
Could be. Could be, but I always like to go to
cultural practice first. That's the best thing to do, to get that grass and soil test and all that.
Do all of that
to make sure the pH and everything is correct on there. And because the grass, weed will grow anything when the grass is not suitable for the lawn, it just come in there.
Weed is looking for space.
In the space,
Right, so if you have any space, you have a weak stand of grass, the weeds
come in there,
going to try to get in there to outcompete those grasses. So I think if you do that, then think about your pre-emerges, and then of course if you can't get it, then you have to go to post-emerge and just read and follow the label on whatever product that you're going to use. My dogwood tree has red berries from blooming in the spring. It is also blooming again right now. How unusual is this? I have never seen this before. The tree was planted about 30 years ago, and it has never happened like this before. I live in the Mid-South. This is Dixie on YouTube. So it was planted 30 years ago.
30 years ago. That
never happened like this before.
No, well, it probably wouldn't.
Okay.
But 30 years is an older dogwood tree. Okay. And so my thought is it's very stressed. And that is why it's trying to bloom again. It's trying to die.
Yeah, it's like.
And it's very stressed, so it's trying to get those berries.
Last little bit.
Yeah, trying to survive.
Right.
But, and so that is why it is actually doing that.
Right, so it's not that unusual. Right.
For a stressed tree.
Yeah, to do that. Right, because it wants to just put off that last little bit, and then it'll be good.
Yes.
This small tree is a volunteer in my garden. Can you help me to identify it? Cherie from South Haven, Mississippi. Thank you for the nice picture too,
Yes, some good pictures, Miss Cherie.
Yes, good picture. So what do you think?
It's a sweet gum.
Sweet gum.
A sweet gum is a very prolific grower. It's native. In the right place, it's a good tree. But I see that it's up against a house. Not a good place for a sweet gum to be.
Okay.
Even with the gum balls, it's just I happen to like sweet gum trees. They produce nice shade. Unfortunately, they have some my granddaughter calls them porcupines, but the little porcupine seed balls. You can see on the second picture, it has that corky texture on the bark right there, kind of almost like a wing down.
Right.
And on the second one, it's a sweet gum.
Okay. And that corky bark is just
normal.
Normal, right.
Normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just a characteristic.
Just a characteristic, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like sweet gum. They have beautiful foliage.
They do.
Sweet gums.
They're in the right spot. They're beautiful. They're one of my favorites.
Right.
The reason they propagate more so around yards and houses and things is because they're one of the, and as far as a succession of trees in a forest grow or in a yard, they're one of the first ones to come up.
Is it okay to transplant my Magnolia tree that has purple blossoms on it? I forgot the name of it. I bought it last year. I am afraid the flowers will die or fall. I want it in a location that I can see it from my window, and this is May.
Well, she can transplant it because it sounds like a young tree, but wait until it is dormant. In other words, until the leaves fall off of it in the fall and into the spring and winter.
Okay.
But yeah, I would transplant it after the leaves fall off and before the leaves come back on.
Okay. And make sure you get that watered in real good.
Yes, and make sure she gets the majority of the root system.
Yes,
Because if it's a
good
young
point.
tree, just, you know, the less you can disturb the roots, the better.
I just planted a peach tree and I want to know exactly what to do to keep it healthy. I've never really gardened. I'm trying my hand at all of it. Thank you, Donald from Lineville, Alabama.
Donald, get a soil test.
Get a soil test. That's the first thing, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing to do. You may already have messed up a little bit, but you might be okay. but if you've got that peach tree in the ground, okay, this is September. This is late summer.
Late summer.
I wonder when you planted. You just planted it. Okay. That's your first mistake. This is really not a good time to plant a peach tree, but you've already got it planted. You've got it planted. Okay. You don't want to fertilize it.
Okay.
So do not fertilize it right now because but you do want to, depending on, hopefully you watered it in.
Okay.
And you probably need to give it a little moisture if we have any dry weather. We not seeing a lot of that right now, but if then I would do nothing at all to it over the winter. Late winter, you're probably going to want to put a little bit of fertilizer out there. I would probably at that time select my scaffolds. I'd probably lower it, pop it at about 20 inches and select 3 or 4 evenly spaced scaffold limbs around it, and then just kind of back off and don't do anything until the middle of the summer, and then I would go in there, and if you're going to have water sprouts and everything that have come in there, I'd probably take some of the water sprouts out, but not do a lot if you've selected those scaffold limbs. I don't know that you're going to have some growth, but you don't want to promote a lot of growth because you don't want tender growth before the hard freezes come in.
And we do have a video about all of this too.
Yeah.
So that video can help you out.
Check the video
as well.
out. Yeah. And then as the tree grows, make sure that it's you follow a spray program with it. You want to control the plum curculio, the insect, and you want to control brown rot. Those are the 2 main things you want to control. You need if you don't control white peach scale, it will kill your tree. If you don't control the peach tree borer, it will kill your tree. Yes. And so just get you a peach spray schedule, look at it, study it, abide by it.
Right, yeah, go to your local extension office. Yeah, get
go
that
to your
spray
local extension
schedule.
office, and they have some mighty good ones down in Alabama.
Oh yeah, you can vouch for that.
I spent a few years down there, that's right.
Yeah, but he's trying it out. He's been really garden, so I'm giving him credit for that. But
good luck to you. If you fail, go to Chilton County. There are plenty of good peaches in Chilton County. Guarantee that.
How do I overwinter my Mandevillas? This is Marcia on YouTube. So Doc, you know anything about Mandevillas and overwintering them?
I do. They're tropical plants, so they cannot stand, really cool temperatures, anything I think below about 45, and they're not going to look too good. And definitely you need to move them in before the first frost because they're going to die. So I just move them in the house, put them in a sunny window, and they should be fine till next spring.
Okay. If they're in the ground, can you go ahead and dig those up and pot them and bring them in the house?
Yeah, sure can.
All right. And something else I would recommend doing too when you're bringing your plants in the house, flush them out with some water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just in case you have some ants or
slugs.
something in there. Yeah, I'll definitely
pill
flush
bugs.
them out. Right.
Yep.
Just in case. I guarantee you're going to have critters in it. Yeah.
Tree frog. I brought in a tree frog one time.
Yeah, so I would definitely flush it out and bring it on in the house. But you said a sunny location.
Yeah, sunny window would be like west or southern exposure, because they're kind of highlight plants. So they might get a little dreary looking in the house during the summer, but they'd probably survive.
Okay. How much would you water it?
I would look at the soil, you know, and make sure that it's needing water. Because I think one of the first things that kills plants in the house is people just take too good a care of them as far as the water. So, you know, I water them religiously once a week. Well, that doesn't work because, you know, they may not need it once a week, especially your succulents and sedums and stuff. So I just do a visual, and if you can stick your finger down in the pot and, you know, if you feeling any moisture down in there with your finger, wait.
Wait.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, when should they take it back out for the spring?
Oh, after the last frost date, which is in this region, 7, it's around 10th, 15th of April. But you know, you have to watch the weather.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
need to watch the weather, man, because it can be anywhere on, you know, either side of that. So just watch the weather and don't move it out too soon.
Do Euronymous scales kill the shrub? I had to remove most of the leaves and water hose with a strong nozzle the stem and the branches to remove the scales. Will this plant regrow or is it too late? This is Tejano 37 from YouTube. Hi Tejano, I can help you with this one because I actually have or had Euronymous shrubs, right? Because here's the thing, the Euronymous scale will decimate that shrub, okay? It will weaken that plant. Because here's the deal, you have male and female Euronymous scales. The males look like little cigarettes, and then the females look like little oyster shells, right? And it will cause the leaves to fall because they're feeding on the sap, again, which weakens the plant. So you're gonna get a lot of leaves that are gonna fall. You can cut it back and it will regrow, but Euronymous scales has what, 2 to 3 generations a year. And again, they're feeding on the sap, which can weaken the plant. So here's a couple of things you could do here. You better catch them early, all right? When they're in the crawler stage,
key, yeah.
right? Because you can control those with the oils. So neem oil, horticulture oil would be fine. If you're trying to control those adults, which are gonna be tough, because remember the female has a shell, okay? You're gonna have to use the systemics, right? And dinutefuran, you know, is one that comes to mind that you can use, which is Safari. So, yeah, I mean, the shrub can be saved, but yes, make sure that you're gonna be treating that shrub early in the year. So we're talking, you know, in March, June, the latest, so get it, you know, late spring, early summer.
Preventative is the key. We're on to something here.
Yeah, we're on to something. Right, because it will make those, you know, those shrubs look pretty bad, and that shrub will drop a lot of leaves.
Once the shell is on there, it's got to be a systemic.
It's got to be systemic.
Very similar to bark scale on crepe myrtle.
Pretty much. It's got to be a systemic, you know, to get that kind of control. But again, you have to answer the question, it will regrow. You just have to cut it back. I've done that to mine, you know, several times. It will resprout. But do know, you have to control those scales.
If you didn't control them and you left them on there, what about the next year or the coming?
See, it's going to further weaken the plant. I mean, the plant just looks so bad after a while. It gets those yellow spots, of course, where the scales are feeding. And like I said, those leaves will start falling off at a pretty rapid number.
And you should get rid of those leaves.
You got to get rid of those leaves.
And just put them in a garbage can or a bag
I'll throw them in the garbage.
get them.
Can I start applying fungicide to my tomatoes as I am planting them in the ground, or is this too early? Also, does applying fungicide to the tomatoes when they are blossoming hurt pollinators? This is David on YouTube. Great last question there. I like that one. So let's go with the first one. So yeah, can you apply the fungicide too early?
Not
Peter?
really, no.
Not really, okay.
No,
right.
as soon as you plant it, I would go ahead and, you know, plant it, cover up the root ball with dirt, spray fungicide on it. Because, you know, one of the main sources for getting the blights is it's splashing up off the soil. And the first thing you're gonna do after you plant it is water it.
Water it.
So do that. Also, putting down mulch will help.
So key.
Yep.
It's so key. Fungicides are preventative in nature, right? So if there's always been a problem with blight in the area, spray.
Yeah.
Spray. Anything to add to that, Booker? Yeah, I would spray.
Another thing I said, like, rotate the tomato to a different area in the garden sometimes. You don't want to have them in the same location out in there. And also try to keep those tomato plants off the ground.
Okay.
If you can do that, yeah.
Okay. Now let's go to the second question. Real good question. So does applying the fungicide to the tomatoes hurt the pollinators, especially when they're in bloom?
Right. Not really.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
if, I would recommend if you're concerned about that, which, it's fine, you can go ahead and spray when the pollinators are not pollinating. And so you could spray in the evening, which is probably not preferable, or very early in the morning. And then the fungicide is dry next time the pollinators come around. And tomatoes also are not pollinated by pollinators. That doesn't mean that they're not going to come because the blossoms are an attractive color, so they'll come and visit. But they're not. You don't need to have pollinators to pollinate tomatoes.
Right. Tomatoes, for the most part, are wind pollinated.
Yeah.
Right. So you're exactly right. I usually tell folks who are concerned about beneficials and pollinators, spray first thing in the morning or spray in the evening. Let it dry off. Never spray when pollinators are foraging.
In the morning, early in midday or something in there, yeah.
Right. Anything else to add to that, Booker?
No, that's good in there, so yeah. And also, like I said, when you try to water your tomato plant, try to water the soil. Right. Try to keep a lot of the water off the leaves. Right. And that'll help a lot on your fungus, on your fungus.
Right. And like mentioned before by Peter, mulch.
Mulch.
Break down on that splash effect.
That helps a lot.
It helps, tremendously.
And then, and it's also useful, cut the bottom few leaves off the plant, because that just gets it up a little bit more. Makes it harder for the splash.
That's right. Then something else I would like to add, resistant varieties. Make sure you look for those as well. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To get more information on any of the questions we answered this week, go to familyplotgarden.com. We will have all these questions listed on the home page with links to tons more information about each one. Also, if you have a gardening question you just can't figure out, go to familyplotgarden.com and click the Ask Us Your Gardening Question banner. We'd love to help you out. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.